Project Creator is proudly hosted on Anchor.fm. If you haven't heard of Anchor, it is the easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's free. There are free creation tools to help you record and edit, and Anchor will distribute your podcast for you to Spotify, Apple Podcast, and so many more. Best of all, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor.fm to get started on your podcast today. Thank you for listening to Project Creator from LA. My guest this episode is comic, actor, writer, director, podcaster, and professional communication coach, Bethany Dwyer. Bethany joined me to share her journey as a stand-up comedian and a working actor in Hollywood, as well as her creative partnership with her boyfriend, Sean, and how a harrowing moment as the victim of a violent robbery changed her outlook on life and revealed her true mission as a creator and a performer. You can find out about all of Bethany's work, upcoming gigs, as well as get information on the Be Heard communication coaching services that she offers, all on her website at bethanydwyer.com. If you'd like to be a guest on the show and share your creator journey, please get in touch. You can email me at projectcreatorcontact@gmail.com or follow me on Instagram at projectcreator. If you want to hear exclusive behind-the-scenes conversations with my previous guests, I invite you to visit the Patreon link below, and of course, I appreciate your support. Bethany, thank you so much for joining me tonight on Project Creator. How are you?
My pleasure. I'm fantastic. Thank you for asking.
So you have what I find to be a very interesting profile as a content creator, and that's like a big umbrella word to me, because it's quite a lot of varied different genres and venues and motivations and things that you do. So before I kind of start digging into my list of questions that I want to ask you about, I always like to give the guest an opportunity to kind of tell us who you are. What are you all about? Who is Bethany Dwyer, and what's kind of your backstory?
That's such an interesting loaded question, because when you ask somebody in LA who they are, they're just going to give you a resume, right? Like that's right. How they explain who they are. But then I have a very different side to me that not many people know. And it's like a therapeutic side that I do a lot of coaching and stuff. And so when I ask somebody, how are you? One of my clients, I never want them to tell me what they're doing. I want them to tell me like, how are you feeling? So for me right now, I have like all these mixed signals going in my head. Like I feel great, but I also just finished a horror. You know what I mean? So, let's see. Who am I? I am a really dark, comedic person. So in life in general, there's an overview of, I love the word umbrella that you use. There's an umbrella of happiness and gratitude, but underneath the umbrella, it's really dark. Like if you turn it upside down, it hits light, but when it's this way, it's really dark. And so I have a lot of that stuff, and that seems to be where I pull my creativity. And I live in my creative space probably 99% of the time. Which may be a detriment or maybe really positive. I'm not sure. But I would say I'm somebody who really loves to help people. And whether that's on stage, making them laugh, or coaching them to get in their self-confidence, to find their voice, or if it's to create something that can take you out of your world, even if it's for a moment or 15 minutes or 60 minutes, whatever it is, that makes me so happy.
What I hear in that is kind of the reverse of a lot of people who operate in the space of a performer, right? Actors, comedians, folks that are, bands, right? I hear from a lot of folks, I'm trying to get myself out there and get my profile known. I want people to know my name and see my work. But what I hear from you is I do these things because I believe that the things I create will help somebody else feel better, get through their day, deal with their stuff. That's different, I guess. That's not the usual position that somebody comes from when they're out there trying to push content out to the world and share it.
I think because, quite honestly, Dennis, I'm terrible at networking. I'm terrible at like networking myself, especially like promoting myself. It's just never something that I'm like, and I'm trying to get better at that because as an artist and a creative, it would be in my best interest if people were watching and like helping, to move things forward. But I think for me, it starts with the content and making it and the idea behind it and what's gonna be translated. And then after it's done, I really stop thinking about it. Like how most people who are really good at business and marketing and all these things when they're an artist and they go, oh, I'm going to do all the social media and all this aspect. I just don't have that mind frame. Like I genuinely, social media is fine and everything. And I really know the importance, but I'm not afraid to be like, not my strong suit. It's not something. My boyfriend is constantly trying to make me like promote that, put that up. Like he'll make me things, put it up there. People have to know, otherwise they're not going to know where to go. Like, so yeah, it's my struggle. Like that is a weakness of mine for sure. And I see people who are so good at it and I'm like, oh God, I wish I had a little bit of that.
Let me drill on that just for a second, because I'm curious to see, in my experience, I identify with that a lot because I've been in the creative space for way too long, like since 2005 and probably earlier than that. And I've always struggled to be out front and utilize the social media pieces the way that I'm told to use them. Because for me, it's always kind of been an imposter syndrome thing. Like I have that disconnect that says, look, I wouldn't give a shit about your social media, Mr. Actor person. I could care less. And I think I project that onto myself. Nobody's going to want, nobody gives a damn, and I keep putting this stuff up on Instagram and nobody gives a shit. But is it that? Is it the imposter syndrome for you? Or is it that it's just not something that really connects with your thought process and how you go piece by piece?
It might be if like I built it as a pie, it would be a slice of it that I know that and it's not that I don't care about other people's stuff, and most people I don't care about, by the way. Let me just throw that. I'd be very honest.
Let's be honest, right?
But even the people that I do, it's not something I'm thinking about like, oh, I'm going to go on and see what they're doing unless I'm having a talk. Like we were just talking about M. Night and I was like, oh, let's see what he's doing. So like I went on his feed and I was like, oh, cool. And I'll check it out. But then I turn it off and I don't think of anyone else or scroll through my timeline or do any of that stuff. I also find that, again, to be super out, like unfiltered, it sometimes can hit me in a way that makes me sad if I see somebody doing something. And it's not that I'm jealous they're doing it. I'm sad that I haven't done the thing in my head. Like it almost makes me beat myself up for not creating more right now and getting it out there because I'm so bad at it. I don't know another word or how to articulate what happens to me on social media, but it doesn't make me happy. So it would behoove me not to do what I coach, which is like, I'm going to help you be happy right now. And I know my happy place isn't like being on social media, liking, commenting, going through the hoops, seeing all this stuff. It's weird because social media, as you scroll, you don't get a choice of what you're about to see. Your body and mind and spirit are going to read it no matter what. And it's like, why am I giving them all this control? And by them, I just mean the social media network system. And it can move me, and I don't want that. So like I'm usually in the middle of things, and something like that, maybe because I'm a sensitive person, it can change me. If I see, Dennis, if I go on and I see a hurt animal, I lose my mind. Like not publicly or anything, but it hurts. Like I'm like, oh my God, how can I save this? Right? And then my mind goes to those places, which I have no control over. So I try to set myself up because I mean, look, I'm a stand-up comic. I have depression, I have anxiety, I have stress, I have worry, I have all these things. So why would I feed it? Like, there's so many other things I could feed it with.
It's almost like it's designed to feed that stuff in a way. You know, it's intentional that they want that emotional reaction to get you to stay on longer and watch it longer. And God, Lord, the almighty algorithm.
It's called programming for a reason, right? And it's designed to, and it's like, I have people that I genuinely want to see their stuff. Like, I have friends and stuff I want to see. They're never in my feed. It's always things that I definitely don't want. And I just talked to my friend who actually works for Google, and they set it up that way. He told me some stuff and that might be why I haven't banned it, obviously, but I mean, like, I've limited my eyes to it, is that they set it up for things that do make you angry and do make you have emotions. They feed your emotions so that you stay on longer. And like, that makes me angry. Like, no, you're not going to change the way I feel, because that's not my base set of what I want to feel is happy and good and productive. I don't want to be sad or upset or angry. Like, and it's, facial recognition to where eyes go. It's all this stuff that they pick up on. And they feed you. And so if you comment on something, which means it sparked an emotion, it made you comment, they will continually feed you that same content with words that matter, like they did in the other post. So the more you learn about how manipulative it is, the more you're like, no.
And here we are as content creators trying to get our work noticed. We're trying to insert our content into that stream of programming, and like, our stuff is positive, right? We're out there. I'm going to make you laugh. I'm going to make you smile. Look at this, read this thing, but it's not going to piss you off the way the Hurt Animal video does. Yeah. So is it really going to rise to that level, or are you going to have to start investing money? And do you have a social media manager? And that's why I struggle with it. So I'm glad to know I'm not the only one.
Oh yeah. Like, a little mantra that my partner on Akon, A Couple of Nuts Talking podcast, is right before we start, we look at each other and we're like, we're doing this for us. We're doing this for fun. And that's our mantra before, because if you don't, you can get lost in the like, how many people are following us? How many people subscribed? How many people liked? Do I get a comment? Did more people listen to this episode? It's like mind blowing for an artist, because you're just you're already self-beating and judging your work. And then you're like, why am I putting my heart and soul in this? And my heart and soul isn't working. That's what you think, right? But I think the more you can do it from a passion, I think passion feeds the seed. That's what I always say. So the more we can fuel the passion, which is, I'm doing this for fun and I'm doing this for me or for us or for you, that's it. Let's see what happens. And I do think like attracts like. So you're going to find people who don't want to watch the sad animal video or the people on the streets fighting or somebody caught on tape stealing something. Like, we don't want to see that. We want to feed our soul. Like, because when you watch a funny movie or a scary movie, you leave feeling something, but not bad. You're like, I like that I felt something. Even in a sad movie, you're like, that was art. That moved me. That was cool. And you move through it. But when you get those other things, they kind of like stick to you and stay with you in a different way, because it's real life, right? They're showing you stuff on the street, or they're showing you news or all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I choose to just boycott.
Probably a lot healthier.
I mean, maybe because it's healthier in the respect that we don't, we're not bogged down by all the stuff. But in the way that it hurts us as artists is we're not able to get our stuff out there. At least for me,
right.
Speaking for me, because then I'm staying off it. I forget to post. I mean, yeah, it's a tough conundrum, but I feel like it's either going to get out there or not. But as long as I keep doing it for me and I'm having fun, then I feel good about it.
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to kind of build up a little bit of your background for whoever's listening to this, because when I look at your profile and I see that the work that you have done over the last 10, 15 something years, and you have had a very varied career. You've done so many interesting creative things. And when I read the bio, which I guess I'm going to just take that more opportunity to go to bethanydwyer.com and look at what I'm looking at right now, because it's interesting. There's so much to see. But looking at your about section, can you share with me the story of how you even arrived in this world that you have lived in?
Oh, I feel like you need to be more specific. Do you mean how did I start in the entertainment business?
Yeah. How did you get started? Because it sounds like here, right? I'll tell half the story, that you're born and raised in Chicago, but you made that fateful leap to head to California, head to LA, and go for it. And it sounds like just a really thick, compelling story, honestly.
Yeah. And by the way, my bio is very, very curt of all the stuff, right? Because it could have been pages long, but it's not.
Sure.
But yeah, I moved to LA thinking like, I'm going to go after my dreams and this is it. And I have the balls to do it, right? Because my family was like, what are you doing? And immediate, like within less than a year, I was living in my car. So, I had a roommate who I moved with and was stealing the money. So I would pay her, and then she was supposed to pay the bills because everything was in her name and she wasn't paying anything. So we had to get out. So then I ended up, that was, by the way, that was the first time that I had no place, that I was homeless. But that wasn't the time I lived in my car, funny enough. So then I moved in with friends that I actually let stay with me when I first moved in. They came to move here. I let them stay here, so they let me move there. And I dated somebody. So let me just let you know here.
Sure.
I have a tendency to let the person that I'm dating kind of dictate my career. And when I break up with boys, I seem to have the best thwart in my career ever, because then I just do me and I go for it. But I do have a tendency to be like that Miss Fix-It enabler. I'll not get big so you don't feel bad kind of mentality. So that's I've grown out of that, but that was a big part of when I first moved out of here because I had nobody. So you kind of attached to somebody. And anyways, he cheated on me, and the day I found out, I left. I packed a bag and I moved into my car, and then I was living in my car. And by the way, I booked a show that I was on for like 4 years on MTV while I was living in my car. That's how bad MTV pays, by the way. But yeah, the first season and a half, I was living out of my car, going to work and on this show.
And if I'm not mistaken, is that Disaster Date?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And luckily, they hired me on right away as a creative producer, which means writer in reality world. So I started writing and I was on the cast, but you make so much more money writing. So that's why I was still living in my car when I was on the show as an actor. And then in the second season, I was able to finally move. I was living like not the whole 2 years, those first 2 years. I wasn't living just in my car. I was also like house sitting and couch surfing and all that kind of stuff. I had a gym membership where I could shower and leave some stuff. But yeah, it's part of it. And you know, that part of my life taught me so much, because I remember when I moved into my car, I packed everything from my ex's house that was mine and tried to get it into this car, including a dog. And in 2 weeks, this entire car that was completely stuffed, all I had was my front driver's seat open. In 2 weeks, all I had was one bag in my trunk. I did. I got rid of everything, gave it to people. I was like, I don't need anything. And I think that was a really good life lesson that I'm glad that I learned. So material stuff to me really isn't anything. Like the new watch, the new car, the new phone, I don't have it. I don't care. Obviously, if you saw me out, you'd be like, oh shit, this girl doesn't care what she looks like. You know what I mean? Like I'll never have the brand name anything, or if I do, it's an accident because it was on sale or whatever. But
well, and I think, I think this is really valuable, and I appreciate you sharing that perspective, because there are so many young folks that want to do exactly what you did, right? They've got the big dream, someone living where I am in this part of New York or the middle of the country or wherever, Chicago, Texas, you name it, but they're not metropolitan. They're not in the scene. They're not, and they think I'm going to go, but there is that reality where it's not walking into glitz and fame. It's hard work, and it's struggles, and it's falling down a couple times. And even when this is interesting to me that you said that you're working and you're literally still having to live in your car as you're getting the acting gigs that you're looking for, it didn't immediately shoot off and rocket to stardom. There was still more that you had to pour into it.
Oh yeah, I think it's a big misnomer if you think that actors all make a crap ton of money and they're just living large. That's not the case. I feel like 90%, and I'm probably wrong, it's probably more than that, but at least 90% of people, even if they're in the union, are hardworking, hustling, and they still probably have maybe one extra side hustle or a job or stressing over making ends meet. Because what people don't realize is there's a union. So like, unless you're on a show for many years or you're the lead or whatnot, or you're already a big name, you're not renegotiating this contract. You're coming in making a certain wage. And the living expenses in New York or LA are a lot higher. It's an inflation on either coast. Right. Now it's going to be an inflation everywhere. But yeah, it's high living costs. You have to realize when you get a gig that there's still months and months that you don't have a gig. You book something and it sounds great, but you worked for like 3 months, and then what now? It's like you don't know when you'll get your next job. So for these people who just look at these famous actors and want to be that, it's not what it appears until you're in it.
You mentioned it too, and I had found it just something as simple as an IMDb page. I think that creates that misnomer in people's minds, because looking at it right from a 10,000 foot view, I look at your IMDb page and I go, holy crap, you were on an episode of The Office in 2008. You were Barack Obama's cousin. I've never seen it, but are you serious? You were in that? Wait a minute, you were on MTV. And then of course I was on your website and I was watching your acting reel, and I'm going, crap, she did that obnoxious Fred thing. And I'm like, wow, like you've been all over the damn place. And
by the way,
but that's not the reality.
Yeah, but that Fred show, it's called Fred the Show on Nickelodeon. That show, I played a villain on it. I got more, well, no, I would say Disaster Day, and that gave me so much like of an age, like my niece and nephew. Oh my God, they lost their, they were just like, oh my God, you're on Fred the Show. So like, it was really funny, this show. And I played a villain. So not everyone liked me that figured out it was me, but because they're kids, and I was against Fred on the show. So, but anyways, like you were saying, it's like you could be steadily working and still not making a living. You really have to love it. It has to be something that you can't live without, which is why I was able to live in my car and be like, I don't care. This is what I want to do.
You get the ability to focus on the fact that, yes, I want to make stuff. I want to share stuff. I want to be out there creating things for people to consume and enjoy. And not all of that necessarily matters. So when did the stand-up comedy start to come into play? How long have you been doing that?
I started stand-up in 2007. And that was, and by the way, that was before I lived in my car. So 2008, I would say, is when I lived in my car when I first left the relationship that I was in. I was lucky enough to be in this relationship and be able to start doing stand-up because of just how everything worked out. So I started stand-up 2007. Once I got on stage, I was like, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. By the way, still thinking I'm supposed to be doing acting and all these other things. It's not like the other ones went away, obviously, when you look at how random my career is. But I don't know. I fell in love with it. I think as a child, I wasn't heard. And then all of a sudden, here I am having a microphone and people paying to hear what I have to say. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And like people want to hear it. And people are reacting the way I want them to react. It's powerful, and it changed my life. Another big, and by the way, the reason I got to do stand up, because I told you, I have massive stage fright, like Mitch Hedberg stage fright. I got robbed by gunpoint and completely changed my life. That too.
I was going to ask you about that because that was something that stuck out on your website. Like, I'm sorry, what? Wait, what? What the hell did I just read? Let me read that again. For life, I'm going to read your website for a second.
Yeah.
Who knew my life would change again for the better after I was robbed at gunpoint for 27 minutes? This experience was the thrust I needed to focus less on my fear of public speaking and just do it. Wow. Yeah. Let's go ahead and take a trauma and grow with it. That's what? Talk me through that.
Well, I was working at a sex shop. I used to coach women, and couples on their bodies. That's another huge passion of mine, is just the body and how it works, and communication has always been my key thing. And so I was working in this place, all women run, all women owned, and we were robbed. And it was just me. I was acting manager at the time. I wasn't really the manager, but I was the assistant. And the manager didn't show up that day. She asked me to work instead. I was training one other person, and we had one customer, and two thieves came in with huge guns and nylons over their head, had me on the ground because they knew that I was the one in charge, just fetal position, gun to the back of my head, for a good length of time. And it's funny because I think the transition happened during, like, the empowerment of it happened actually during the robbery. So there was a moment, like, I won't bore you guys with the whole story, but there was a moment where when I first felt the gun to my head, because I didn't see it, it was right to the side, but I felt all this heat and it kind of like wrapped around my body. And I felt like it was my grandpa. I felt like my grandpa came and was kind of like holding me. And all of a sudden I got super confident and very calm. And I was like, what do you need? Do you want me to help you with that? You know, I was just kind of walking through this, like, would you want me to unhook the computer? I can remember that part so clear. And then when they put the gun to the back of my head is kind of when it changed. Like, I was in fetal position. I felt it to the back of my neck. And that's the last part I remember, because I started seeing my life. How they say you see your life pass before your eyes. Like, that's legit. I didn't hear anything. I didn't feel anything anymore. I just saw pictures of my life very, very quickly. And all of a sudden, and I don't know how long, I have no concept of time, but at some point I kind of came out of it, and I chanted this. Have never heard this in my life. I am one with the universe. It's not my time. And I just was down there going, I'm one with the universe. It's not my time. I'm one with the universe. It's not my time. And it was at that moment that, I don't know how many times I said it, but eventually they left. They took the gun off my head and I heard them run off. So that's, I think, by the way, right after, when I got home, lost my shit. Like, all of that confidence, all of that stuff that happened. I mean, I was a basket case. But after a couple of weeks and getting through that, and by the way, like, lots of other little traumas happened after that in the way that I was treated after the robbery through the employers and the state and all that kind of stuff. That's neither here nor there. But afterwards, I worked through it, and there's a moment where like I had zero control over that situation. My life could have been taken from me. I had no choice. Like I'm standing. I mean, I guess I had a choice to either run or react or fight. But what I mean is I didn't have a control over his finger at any moment or the other guy's finger. And I was like, what I do have control over is what I do. And why am I afraid to get on stage? Like, is the audience going to attack me? Like, I had to try to rationalize, like, what am I afraid of? And the only reason I did that was because of what I went through, because that's real fear. That was like obviously logically, it's very, very scared. But that was like tangible fear for me. And when I thought now, if I could visualize myself on stage, where's the tangible fear? And I couldn't come up with one. And that's when I was like, you know what? I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this for my benefit and not keep hiding and not keep being scared to be myself, basically. And then I got on stage. And then when I got on stage, I think I didn't eat for 2 weeks before I planned it. I had to invite everybody on my first show just to make sure that I actually got up. And then I got on stage and I was like, what was I fucking waiting for? Like I actually got mad at myself, and I still fight those demons. I still fight the fears and those moments of being like, can I be myself? Because every time you get on stage as a comic, you may or may not be your authentic self. I try to be my authentic self and come from real viewpoints that I have. And it's scary when you're up there, obviously. And I still kind of have to fight through that. Every once in a while, it'll catch me, that stuff before I, got robbed, to where you judge yourself and you think you're not good enough and all of these things. So it's a constant fight for me, but I'm glad to do it.
And you told me, we were chatting a little bit before the show about some of the aspects of how you actually do your stand-up comedy. And one of the things you said to me was that you need your audience. You use your audience. Your audience becomes part of your show.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that is perhaps like a little part of it is wondering, right, will these people allow me to make them part of the show, right? Is there a piece of the fear that says, all right, I already don't know if anybody's going to find this funny or not, but I'm going to be my authentic self and go for it. But I'm going to need these folks to play along and be willing to, take the bait or be the butt of a joke or something like that. Does part of the fear come from, all right, I don't know what's going to happen and whether or not this is going to make any sense, or I'm just going to be standing up there looking like an idiot talking to myself?
You know what's funny? And this might be really weird. I don't have a fear of being funny. I know I'm funny. I've been funny my whole life since I was this big. I was bullied. I was ugly. I was not treated well. I was, so you end up really being able to make people laugh. There's like a humor factor to that, right? So you make a bad room of something that happened and you can say something that will distill the room or unbalance that heaviness into a laughter. I have no problem with that. I never not think I'm going to be funny on stage. My fear comes from, for whatever reason, I don't know where this comes from, not remembering what I'm going to say. Which, by the way, most of my stuff is improv, but that's where the fear comes from because, I have to take what I know already, which is kind of these bits and these acts, which if you don't know my comedy, it seems this probably doesn't make any sense. But in other words, I have some semblance to my bits to where I'll use them. But I always have in the beginning, I'm using my audience and then I weave them through. So every show is completely different because I have all these different people. But mine comes from a fear of memory for some reason. Like I will always now put bullet points on a piece of paper. I have to bring that, have it in my pocket somewhere to settle this anxiety that I have about for just going up there and being like, it comes from my very first performance, and not with stand up, with acting, where I lost my words, where I could not hold the copy. And it was a stage project. It was theater, which if you know theater, you have an entire script in your brain. And then if you don't, what do you do? And that happened to me. And so I think the weight of that has stayed with me, and I don't know how to expel it except the pep talks right before, or like, I got this. But that's really, I think with all the work I've done, found that seed. That's where it comes from. But interestingly enough, I never feel like the audience won't play with me or that they're not going to get it. And luckily, I haven't had a moment where they didn't. So maybe if I did at one point, I'm going to change that. I'll be like, Dennis, do you want to do another podcast? And I'll tell you that I really
hold on, dude. I need to talk to you again. Hey,
yeah. There were 3 people and they didn't want to talk to me. Yeah. So no, that's never an age. Like once I'm on stage and I get the line out, that's it. Like there's no more fear. There's no more. Now I'll have shows sometimes where I'm in my head, which I fucking hate. Those are the worst shows. Those are usually like a showcase. Somebody I know is in the audience who has to see me. Like pressure, forget about it, Dennis. I'm terrible. Pressure on tests in school. It's just the demise of me. But if it's just a free for all, I get to go up and they want me on the show and it's just about that, then I know it'll be great and fun. But I'm not good under pressure, which also defies all reason of why I would ever go into the entertainment business, because that's all it is constant pressure. Like you have to audition in front of this person. You have to test in front of this person. You have to showcase in front. It's just like constantly like, are you good enough? Look at me. We don't like you. You know, it's constant rejection basically, which is also part of it.
What I've heard from other actors and friends that I've known through the years that have been in different pieces of the business is like, it's that anxiety, you call it fear, but it's really, I think it's anxiety, honestly, leading up to the moment. Right. But once you put your foot down on that floor and the light comes up and you're on, like you step into a zone where you are somebody else. I'm me, I'm still me, I'm on, but I'm, this is this me. And now, okay, it's like now it's freaking on. Right. Exactly. Yeah. And now it's on, let's go, let's do this. And the years that I've performed different characters online, that was my moment of like, I'm not me anymore. I'm that dude. And that dude's not afraid of shit. So let's go. And so that I appreciate you sharing that perspective, because I don't think enough people get to hear it, and they just hear about stage fright as this kind of ephemeral thing that you can't really quantify. And I think that you laid it out in a very real way that people can understand and connect to.
Yeah, I would say most anxiety, just because I work with a lot of clients and I do public speaking coaching as one of the aspects of my coaching. And so I like to dissect it and figure out where it comes from so I can kind of like smash it for them. And I would say most of the people who have stage fright, it is more about what you brought up. It is more about like, will they like me? If it's like a catastrophe type thinking, like they could catastrophize. There we go. They catastrophize the outcome, and they like because we're creative souls. If you're on stage performing, you're creative. So that our imagination is so much worse than what really would possibly happen, that's also part of it. Like they make it these big things that could go wrong. And it's just like the likelihood of that happening is really, really small. And even if everyone hates you, you know, the poles of stardom is making people either hate you or love you or both. Right? Do you know those people who are super famous? You're like, I can't fucking stand them. Like, how did they, right? But that works for stardom as much as, oh my God, I love that person so much. Like, as long as you can get a rise of somebody, you got it. That's the it. So I try to tell those people, if they have that anxiety, like, run with it. They fucking hate you. Fantastic. They will remember you in the car ride. They're going to be like, the way that fucking guy said that shit, I can't stand it. Oh my God, the way that girl wore her hair, fuck her. Right? But they're talking about you, which means you got them.
Which means if I be so bold as to do a little bit of a callback, we have programmed them the way Google programs us.
Yep.
Right? It's all about the reaction.
Yeah. If you watch some really, really big comics, you can start seeing how they program you to laugh. George Carlin's a huge one. If you watch George Carlin, he's like a jazz player, right? Ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da. And once you hear the, but look at, you're smiling. Once you hear the ba-da-da-da, it's like you know to laugh. Because if you read his transcripts of his show, not really funny. But man, his delivery, his timing, and the way he confidently lets you know to laugh, then he like drives the car, the comedy car. You're like, I get it. And, Dave Chappelle hits his mic. He does that a lot. When he thinks he's done something funny, boom, he hits that mic. So those are wonderful little things that they do to teach us or to program us to laugh. And that goes across the board. But yeah, programming, geez Louise, don't even get me started on that stuff.
We can't get away from it no matter what we do. Either we're part of it or we're a sucker of it. So,
Well, artistic programming, I'm okay with. Artistic programming. I like that. That's a good thing.
When it's for a good reason.
Yes.
So you've mentioned a couple of different points, and I definitely want to dig into this with you, is the coaching business and this aspect of who you are. So, right, you're a, let me go back. You are a comic, you are an actor, you are a writer, you are a director, you're a podcaster, but you're a coach. And you literally, you help people with your content, but you quite literally help people in a professional space. Please tell me the story of how you got into that line of work.
Yeah. So like I told you, I was working at a sex shop, basically, that was run by women. It was mostly catered to women. So I started the whole helping people, coaching in the relationship aspect, to have better sex, better communication in relationships. So it's always been there, but it wasn't it is a passion of mine, but it wasn't my dream and goal. So when I left that to like pursue my acting, that was kind of my side hustle to try and get work. And then I just really went full force on just so you know, stand up, it takes not only 100% of your life, but then if you could pull lives from other people, you would need it as well. That's how all encompassing it is. But about 6 years ago, I had somebody very important to me get into drugs and alcohol quite bad and needed to get help at a center. And I went to go visit, and he signed me up for a talent show. And when I got there, it was for like family night for a talent show at this rehab center. And I was so mad. I was like, what are you doing? Like, I'm not here to perform for everybody, like whatever. And by the way, they wouldn't let me swear. And so I was like, yeah, I'm definitely not going to do this for you guys. And then the whole place was like, let her swear. So anyways, I performed at this rehab center of like, I don't know, 100 family friends and whatever. And all the clients started coming up to me and they were like, oh my God, how did you do that? How'd you get on stage? How do you have the balls to do that? Oh my God, I would love to try and do that. There was so much feedback. And I went to the clinical director and I was like, hey, I don't mind being of service. And like, I'll develop some sort of comedy program to bring to these guys once a week or whatever you want me for. And they were like, thought about it. And they were like, yeah, let's try it. So I was like, all right. So I tried it. The first week I did it. It was amazing. By the second week, some of the other facilitators heard and had talked about me at other clinics, other rehab centers. And by the end of the month, I was in 4 or 5 different centers. And I was like, guys, I can't do all this being of service and do all these other jobs I do. And then the whole California thing changed. You had to get insurance. And so I ended up having to actually work at these places to provide the service. And then I developed this program called Comedy Heals, which is that exact program, but really developed it out. And yeah, I've been doing it for 6 years in these facilities. I do privates. I have even longer than that been coaching stand-up or performance, public speaking, getting over anxieties. But when I've combined this coaching kind of program with what I was already doing in my kind of public speaking, like if you're going through a TED Talk, if you want better sales in business, all this kind of stuff, if you have certain aspects in the way you speak publicly, it affects very much your outcome. And then I smushed them both together. And I was like, this is powerful. This is changing. Like I started to see some real transformation in people quite quickly. I work a lot about in the now, which is what I was talking about, why maybe I'm terrible at social media and stuff like that, because my goal every day is how much can I stay in the now? How can I be as present as possible? And it's really, like I said, transformed my own life. And then to be able to trickle that down to others is really cool. Yeah. And I just got certified as a recovery coach too, which is really cool. I just wanted that.
Congratulations.
Aspect.
Very
Thanks.
nice.
Yeah.
And I happen to be looking just, again, I'm all about making sure folks are looking at what I'm looking at while I'm talking to you. I'm on bethanydwyer.com/coaching. And so I'm really curious because a lot of the branding around what you're doing with the coaching is be heard, but the asterisk next to the BE. Help me understand the context there.
Well, my name's Bethany, and I do not ever go by Beth. I go by B or Bethany. And by B, it's BE. Yeah. So I've always spelled it BE when people call me by my nickname. And then I put the asterisk there because I usually go by Bethany and it'll say BE, the asterisk, and then Thenny at the afterwards so that people get it. And then that's how my program ended up getting its name. It's like Be Heard.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not trying to be like, the host of the show that's sucking up to the guest, but that's kind of catchy, to be honest with you. There's a little bit of a hook to that. I dig that. So,
well, that stems from my childhood. I told you like how I was ignored. I wasn't heard. I was kind of in my room all the time. I had an older sibling who really got almost all of the attention, which doesn't surprise me. I became a stand-up comic. But I remember thinking like, I just don't feel heard. I want to be heard. And when I thought of that in relation to the coaching I'm doing, when I smushed them together, I was like, we all deserve to be heard. All of us. And so if you're communicating better, you feel better. So if more people can just learn certain key tools to communicate better, your life will change.
I think, whatever resource that you can offer somebody to help them deal with the hangups that they have in life, like all those little things that we've talked about for the last bit here about what holds you back and what terrifies you into silence and what frustrates you because you feel like you're being manipulated by these different things and expectations and these false narratives that are spit at us. And yet here you are in the midst of living that life, that LA life, but you're taking these steps and focusing your efforts on trying to help people manage in the real world. It's a really interesting blend of a content creator and the coach mentality. I kind of dig that.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been interesting whirlwind for me because when I was focusing just on the entertainment, just on the art side, I was definitely happy and fulfilled, but not fully. Like there was something that I always felt was missing. Like when I'm on stage and I see people laughing and out of their daily life that kind of gets them down, or if I have a friend going through something and I can say something that kind of lights them up and they forget and they're in the moment. That part of me, like changing someone from the inside, like you said, getting to the root of it and transforming that into something that could really benefit their life is the other part of my fuel. And man, there's times where I'm coaching and after I coach, I feel like I shot a movie where I'm like, I feel really good. Like I made a difference. There's something out there that's changed because of what we just did. And it doesn't have to be this thing that everybody knows about and all of this stuff. And my coaching is just word of mouth. It's, I get referred by the last person usually. People refer me out. I don't really promote that side of me because it's just another part of me, but I have to do that stuff.
You're getting that dopamine hit off of that now, as opposed to when it was in the beginning, getting the laugh and getting the part or whatever. Now you're getting that gratification. The positive programming comes from how you feel after you have influenced somebody else in a positive way.
Yeah. When you go through something and you change and you can really feel the difference in your life, I'll speak for myself. I wanted everyone to feel that and to get that. And it's so acquirable. Like there's all these people telling you can't do this. You're not going to be able to do that. Like, by the way, my family, I love them to death, but they do not understand what I'm doing at all. And when I came out here originally to move and go for my dreams, they were just like mind blown. My mom's a CPA. My stepdad's a CPA. Like it's just, art and that side of them is not of an importance. It doesn't put food on the table. It doesn't pay the insurance, how parents think. And now it's like, if I can give that to somebody else where we can break whatever kind of wall they've had up that's keeping them from doing everything they're capable of doing and more, like that makes me so happy because, and by the way, I wish I had some of the transformation that I've helped other people give, because I'm just like, oh man, I gotta, every day, every time I tell them something, it's like I want to practice what I preach, so it helps me. So by helping other people, we definitely end up helping ourselves just as much. And I don't know, I swear by it. I tell everybody now, like, if you got something inside of you that can help someone else, and you're feeling low, go do that, and it will rock your world. It's I don't know. I just ended it there. I know that was weird.
That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. That was like mic drop, boom, like silence settles over the crowd, right? That was actually pretty powerful, man. No,
by the way, Dennis, I normally don't talk on anything about this. Like usually, because I'm the stand-up and we're like usually joking and laughing. I feel like this is such a different side, which by the way, I love. I never talk about it, but you're asking really good questions that are going deeper than normal that I get. So this is great, by the way.
I appreciate that. Thank you. That's the whole mission of this podcast, because I've been out there trying to become quasi famous for 15 years, and I've done every stupid thing that I can think of, and nothing's ever really, I've had some good times. I've had some high moments, whatever, fine. But at this point in my life, as a middle-aged dad, and still joy making, I want to talk to you guys. I want to understand the thought processes that you go through and the experiences you had, people who have either successfully or not successfully pursued these careers in content creation. I want to know what you went through. Where were those high moments? Where were those low moments? And what was it like to live? I want to put the audience in your shoes and let them see the world through your eyes. So for you to tell me that this is not the usual experience, thank you. I really appreciate that, because that tells me that I'm on the right track and I'm going in the right direction to do what I do here.
Heck yeah.
This has been great. I am super, like, I've got the dopamine hit now after listening to you walk through this experience. So,
you know what's funny? If I can interject one thing, that because of what you said what your mission is on your podcast. I can say this, that I think helped me a lot, and hopefully it'll help somebody else. I don't know, or maybe not. When you were saying you wanted to hear the process of somebody who's creating something, and hear what their side of it is and how they, deal with each aspect. I would say this: when I focus on the content that I create and the effect it has. In other words, if I think about the future of the content, I get sad, I get depressed, I feel like I'm not doing it enough, not doing it good enough. No one's going to see it. It's a waste, right? Like I get in my head and I start to really kind of combust on myself. But if I can focus on just creating the content, just focus on the actual creation and the remedy at which I go about making the content, and just do it because I love doing that, it really changes the outcome, regardless if the future looks the same or not. In other words, I got 5 hits. I got 5 likes. That's it. If I focus on that, I'll get sad and it'll make me not create and kind of, be sad. But if I can just do it and go, you know what, 5 people like that. Let's go for more. Let's make those 5 people happy. Or you just come at it from a different perspective as an artist, because that's all we do is beat ourselves up. I think that you'll create a lot more, and you'll feel a little happier. I just speak for myself because I can really get in a zone of woe is me. How do I get this? The frustration.
So many of us do. And you see so many young folks out there falling into the trap of thinking that they're going to be an instant Instagram star. I don't even know what the hell an influencer is. That's how old I am. But I spent too many years in those mindsets of watching the numbers and chasing the whatevers, and realizing later in life, it can be about quality, not quantity. And it can be just as fulfilling of an experience when you know that what you're putting out is your true self, and it may not be seen by 10,000 people, but it was probably seen by 10, and those 10 might have smiled, and that means you accomplished something.
Yeah, and I think if you keep doing it, those 10 people eventually they'll resonate with something so hard that they at a couple of their friends, and then it will eventually pay off if you persevere and you're consistent and you just keep doing it for you. That's the key, because otherwise you won't have that longevity, right? We do so many things, which, by the way, I think is to my detriment that I do so many things, because I haven't stayed in one lane for long enough for people to catch on the train and be like, oh, I'll take this ticket. Now I'm over here, and then I'm over here, and wait, I thought you're a comic and you're doing horror, right? It's mixed messages, which is fine, but I do it for me. So it's like one day, maybe somebody or this person or that person, but as long as I keep focusing on me being happy and helping one, many, zero, it's just about doing it because you love it.
That's so awesome. And listen, I don't want to be remiss, but we haven't really given any nod to the partner in crime that was over there helping us futz with the audio settings. So, in the midst of everything that Bethany Dwyer is doing, what B's got going on, let's not forget about Sean, because the Couple of Nuts Talking podcast, there's YouTube videos out there. You guys make music together. You're a band. You're performing. I mean, props to Sean, because dude's your wingman right now.
Yeah, I always say I've never found someone who's my counterpart who I could be like, let's do this. And I have this. And what about this idea? And you want to make this? You want to create that? You want to do that? And he's like, yep. And it's like, we both, or he'll come up with an idea and I'm like, let's do it immediately. So it's like this wonderful synergy between us where we're both yeppers to each other. It's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. And it's so supportive. And I've never, I just honestly have never met anyone or been in a relationship like that where it's just so supportive and creative. And I think when you can find that counterpoint, if that's the way your brain works, because mine's going constantly, I struggle to stop thinking about or creating stuff, which I'm sure just drives other people nuts. So when you can find someone whose mind works just that way, and you can link up. I mean, it was kind of perfect. So, we have a couple of nuts talking. We have a couple of nuts cooking, which is on YouTube. It has its own channel. Our couple of nuts podcast is on everything. We talk about everything just the way we are, but just really unfiltered, really honest. We go into couple stuff, but we also just each have our own thing. We review movies and television, and we kind of don't care what anybody else thinks. Like for instance, The Shield, we watched. Have you seen The Shield?
I watched like an episode of it, but it's not my thing. I'm a big fat nerd.
Well, by the way, big fat nerds are the ones who told us to watch it and said that this show is amazing. Absolutely.
I can't get into cop shows. I really can't get into cop shows. Okay. I just can't.
I can't get into cop shows that are those hour like NCIS, Law and Order, and all that stuff, right? I can't really do that. But what I can get into is a little Michael Chiklis and Walton Goggins together. They are so dope together. It's dynamic. They're like it's like Batman and Robin on steroids. And Hurt Locker, is a movie. Kurt something. He's the guy he helped create all that stuff. Writer. He was so good. Anyways, everyone's like, watch this show. Watch this show. It's the top 10 best shows, including Sopranos, right? Sopranos is supposed to be number 1. I could talk a lot about that. But anyways, we watched The Shield and we were like, what the fuck, you guys? All these people told us to watch this, that it's the best show. And it's like, guys, it's really not the best show. Season 5, epic, amazeballs. I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10. But like the other, I mean, I don't know. I didn't get it either. So we're completely honest. Like, we don't care what everyone says. We're just like, let's really talk about this kind of stuff. But yeah, we're all over the board. We talk a lot about farts and shit too. So if you don't like that, it's probably not your best place.
Probably not. It might not be the
balls.
thing. Go to the cooking show. Go over to look at the cooking show instead.
Yes. If you like the cooking show and you get to watch us, you'll love the podcast. Like that's the icebreaker. The icebreaker is the cooking show that we did during the pandemic when everyone was quarantined. By the way, neither of us know how to cook. And if you're going to tune in to actually learn a recipe, do not do that. Do not cook anything we make. Most of the time we ate it because it's all we had. But yeah, don't go for the recipes. Go because it's a comedy show, basically.
There you go. There you go.
That's just a disclaimer. Like, don't send that to Nana.
Yeah, that be a little careful. Be warned that this is your icebreaker, and then you're going to find out later what you really signed up for when you get to the podcast. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. But we're going to show his props, and I'm going to want to follow up and talk to him later too. So.
Oh yeah, he's got some great stories. Yeah. Can I tell you one more thing?
Please.
My horror short just won Chicago Indie Films Awards.
Oh, son of a beeswax!
That's
right,
okay.
Here's me.
That's okay. But if people want to go check it out,
you've got hold on a second. Now I got to go back because I did want to ask you. So you wrote and produced. Where is it? And directed. I lost it. Grandfather? Where'd it go?
Grandpa the Horror.
Grandpa the Horror. How? Okay, let's take a second.
People can watch it on YouTube. Come around?
It's on YouTube now. Okay.
Yeah, you can watch it on YouTube or Vimeo, but and on Facebook. Facebook, it took off on Facebook, which is great. But Grandpa the Horror. So horror is my favorite genre. I mean, I know I'm a comic, but horror is my absolute favorite thing to watch, write, do. So I always wanted to act in a horror, all this stuff. So I was like, my partner, Sean, was like, just make one. You've written so much, just make one of these guys. So it was my first attempt at writing and directing and producing. And Sean actually composed it, the music. And yeah, it was my first time. And then it's really taken off. And I'm working on the full length script, and I have other horrors as well. But yeah, I'm really excited about it.
And this might be a thing that we have to, perhaps we might want to circle back at some point too and talk some more about this, because that's a whole different world now when you're talking about being truly behind the scenes, behind the camera. You're the writer, you're the producer, you're the director, and you've got other actors and other people that are looking to you for guidance and direction on bringing your vision to life. I think that's another conversation we're going to have, but definitely. So on Facebook and on YouTube, we want to look for Grandpa the Horror. Grandma and Grandpa want to live happily ever after. The only problem is Grandma's dead. Grandpa will go to any lengths to bring her back, even if it costs an innocent soul. True love never dies. I think I know I'm going to watch tomorrow, and I'm going to take a peek at that. That's in my lane. Not The Shield. That's in my lane.
Right. No, I was just bringing up The Shield because it's like everyone, it's all subjective, right? I mean,
there you go.
Yeah. You might hate horror. Who knows?
No. I'm a nerd. I like all things. Bethany Dwyer, it has been a pleasure. It has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you taking time out of your Saturday night to hang out with me and talk to us here on Project Creator. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Yeah.